Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. The Last Laugh delivers stories that leave you speechless. If you're here for it, hit subscribe and let's go.
The call came through at 2:17 p.m. on March 14th, while I was reviewing term sheets with my CFO. I saw Dad's name on the screen and almost sent it to voicemail. Almost. Hey Dad. Elena. He cleared his throat. Listen, we need to talk about Easter. I waited. Your brother's bringing Nicole this year. She just made VP at JP Morgan. Investment banking. Your mother and I think it's best if you skip this one. I set down my pen. Skip Easter. It's not personal, sweetheart. But Nicole's career is, well, it's at a critical point. She's advising Fortune 500 companies. We don't want her to get the wrong impression about the family. The wrong impression. You know what I mean. His voice dropped. The startup thing. It's been what for years? Your brother's building a real career. Nicole's building a real career. We just think it would be easier if... I understand, I said. You do. Yes. There was a pause. I could hear my mother's voice in the background, muffled but insistent. Your mother wants to talk to you, Dad said. That's okay. Tell her I said hi. I ended the call before he could respond. Across the desk, Richard raised an eyebrow. Everything all right? Fine. I picked up my pen. Where were we? Richard had been my CFO since we raised our Series B 3 years ago. He'd left a VP position at Oracle to join what was then a 20-person company operating out of a WeWork in Austin. Now we had 340 employees across 6 offices. Our revenue had hit $180 million last year. Forbes had named me to their 30 under 30 list when I was 28. Fortune had profiled us 6 months ago as one of the fastest-growing enterprise software companies in North America. My family had no idea. It wasn't intentional at first. When I dropped out of Stanford to build SupplyWise, a logistics optimization platform for manufacturing companies, my father had been clear about his disappointment. You're throwing away a degree for what? To play with computers. My older brother Tyler had just finished his MBA at Wharton. He was working in corporate strategy at a pharmaceutical company in Philadelphia, pulling in $140,000 a year. Dad mentioned it constantly. Tyler knows how to build a real career. Tyler understands what it takes to succeed in the business world. So I stopped mentioning my company at family dinners. Stopped trying to explain what we did. Stopped correcting them when they called it Elena's tech thing, or that startup. I let them think I was struggling. It was easier that way. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of product launches and investor meetings. We were in active negotiations with Harrington Global, a $12 billion industrial conglomerate, to acquire SupplyWise for $1.8 billion. The deal had been 18 months in the making. Their CEO, Margaret Westfield, had personally flown to Austin twice. Their board had approved the framework. We were down to due diligence and final terms. JP Morgan was handling the sell-side advisory. I didn't think about Easter until April 9th when Tyler texted me a photo. It was him and Nicole at some waterfront restaurant, both holding champagne glasses. The caption read, "Celebrating my VP. So proud of this one." I texted back. Congrats to her. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Tyler, you doing okay? Yeah, why? Tyler. Dad said you're skipping Easter. Money tight? I stared at the message. Me, I'm fine. Just busy with work. Tyler, if you need anything, let me know. I can ask around about entry-level positions. Nicole's firm has a big tech practice. I locked my phone and set it face down on my desk. Easter fell on April 17th. I spent the day in the office, working through a backlog of contract reviews with our general counsel. Around 3 p.m. my phone buzzed. A group text from Mom to the family chat. The photo showed our parents' dining room table set for 6. Tyler and Nicole sat on one side, both smiling. Dad was carving a ham. Mom had her arm around Nicole's shoulders. Mom's message: missing one, but we're grateful for the family we have here. Happy Easter. I didn't respond. At 5 p.m. I locked up and drove home to my condo in downtown Austin. I'd bought it 2 years ago. 2,200 square feet on the 18th floor of a new high-rise overlooking Lady Bird Lake. The down payment had been $340,000. I'd paid cash. My parents still thought I rented a studio. I poured a glass of wine and stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the sunset turn the water orange and gold. My phone buzzed again. Tyler. Hope you had a good day. Nicole says hi. I didn't answer. The JP Morgan team arrived at 9 a.m. on April 18th. I was already in the boardroom on the 14th floor of our downtown Austin headquarters. The room had a glass wall overlooking the city, a custom walnut conference table that seated 16, and a massive monitor mounted on the far wall. Our logo, a minimalist compass rose, hung behind the head chair. My chair. Richard slid into the seat to my left. They're in the lobby. David's bringing them up. David Park was my chief of staff, a former McKinsey consultant who joined us after our Series C. He managed my calendar, screened my meetings, and had an uncanny ability to read a room in under 30 seconds. How many? I asked. 4. Lead banker, 2 analysts, and a VP. The VP's name? Richard glanced at his tablet. Nicole Brennan. I went still. You know her? Richard asked. She's dating my brother. Richard's eyes widened. Does she know? No. Does your brother? No. He sat back. Well, this should be interesting. The door opened. David stepped in first, his expression professionally neutral, but I caught the slight tension in his shoulders. He'd met my family exactly once at a conference in Boston 2 years ago where my mother had introduced me as our daughter who's trying the entrepreneur thing. David had been introduced as my assistant. He hadn't corrected her. Miss Chin, he said formally. The JP Morgan team is here for the Harrington evaluation. Send them in. 4 people entered. The lead banker was a man in his 50s, gray hair, expensive suit. He introduced himself as Robert Chong, managing director. The 2 analysts were younger, both women, both carrying leather portfolios. And then there was Nicole. She was exactly as she'd appeared in Tyler's photos. Blonde, polished, confident. She wore a navy suit and carried a Prada bag. She was smiling as she walked in. She saw Richard first. Then David. Then the other 2 members of my executive team who joined us. Patricia Huang, our general counsel, and Marcus Webb, our CTO. Then she saw me. I watched the exact moment recognition hit. Her smile faltered. Her steps slowed. Her eyes moved from my face to the nameplate in front of my seat. Miss Chin, Robert said, extending his hand. Thank you for hosting us today. We're excited to. Nicole made a sound. Not quite a gasp. Not quite a word. Robert turned. Nicole. He was staring at me. You're Elena Chin? Yes, I said. Tyler's sister. Yes. Her face had gone pale. You're the CEO of SupplyWise. I am. Robert looked between us. You 2 know each other? She's dating my brother, I said calmly. The room went silent. Nicole's hands were shaking. She set her portfolio on the table too hard. Papers shifted. I didn't realize. David stepped forward smoothly. Should I reschedule? No, I said. We're here to discuss the Harrington acquisition. Let's discuss it. Robert cleared his throat. There's a conflict. There isn't, I said. Nicole's professional. Aren't you, Nicole? She nodded. Once. Jerky. Please sit. They sat. For the next 90 minutes we walked through the deal structure. Harrington was offering $1.8 billion. $1.1 billion in cash, $700 million in stock. The valuation was based on our Q4 performance. $180 million in revenue, 127% year-over-year growth, and contracts with 34 of the Fortune 500. I led the presentation. Nicole didn't speak once. She took notes mechanically, her pen moving across the page, but her eyes kept drifting back to me. To the Forbes cover framed on the wall behind my head. To the org chart showing 340 employees. To the slide showing our office locations. Austin, Chicago, Denver, Boston, Seattle, New York. When I mentioned our named investors, Sequoia Capital, Andreessen Horowitz, Greylock Partners, her pen stopped moving entirely. Robert asked smart questions about customer retention. About our tech stack. About competitive moats. I answered each one precisely. At 10:47 a.m., Patricia walked them through the legal framework. At 11:15, Richard covered the financial projections. At 11:40, Marcus demonstrated the platform itself. A live walkthrough of how SupplyWise optimized supply chains for companies like Tesla, Boeing, and Pfizer. Nicole's phone buzzed. She glanced at it. Went white. Fumbled it back into her bag. At noon I stood. I think that covers our agenda. Robert will send over the updated data room access this afternoon. If your team has follow-up questions, Patricia can coordinate. Robert stood, shaking my hand. This has been incredibly thorough. We'll debrief with Harrington and circle back by end of week. Perfect. The analysts filed out. Robert followed. Nicole stayed seated. David paused at the door. I gave him a small nod. He left. Closed the door behind him. Nicole and I were alone. She looked up at me. Tyler texted me during the meeting. He said you skipped Easter because you couldn't afford the flight. I said nothing. He said your dad told him you're working at some struggling startup, that you might need help finding a real job. I waited. He asked me to look into entry-level positions in our tech consulting group. Her voice cracked. He said you've been too proud to ask for help, but that the family's worried about you. What did you tell him? I haven't responded yet. She stood abruptly, knocking her chair back. Why didn't you tell them? Tell them what? That you built this. She gestured around the room. That I'm what? Successful, she said. That you're more successful than any of us. Why would I do that? She stared at me. Because they think you're failing. I know what they think. And you're okay with that? I picked up my tablet. I stopped needing my father's approval a long time ago. But Tyler offered to help me find an entry-level job. I met her eyes. While I was closing a $1.8 billion acquisition. Nicole flinched. You should respond to his text, I said. Tell him the meeting went well. Tell him Harrington's moving forward. Tell him whatever you think is appropriate. Elena. We're done here, Nicole. She grabbed her bag. Stopped at the door. Are you going to tell him? Tell him what? Who you are. What you've built. I considered the question. No, I said. I don't think I will. Why not? Because it won't change anything that matters. She left without another word. Tyler called at 6:47 p.m. I was still at the office reviewing contract language with Patricia. I let it go to voicemail. He called again at 7:03. And again at 7:34. At 7:52 he texted, we need to talk. Call me. I called him back at 8:15 after Patricia left. Jesus, Elena. Finally. What's up? What's up? His voice was tight. Nicole came home from a meeting today and locked herself in the bathroom for an hour. She won't tell me what happened. She just keeps saying she needs to think. Okay. Was it you? Was what me? Nicole had a client meeting in Austin today. Some tech company. Did you do something? I almost laughed. Do something? I don't know. Show up at her office? Try to embarrass her? She's been acting weird ever since Dad uninvited you from Easter. I thought maybe you were upset about it and you... Tyler, I said. I didn't do anything to Nicole. Then why is she freaking out? You should ask her. I did. She won't talk to me. He exhaled hard. Look, I know Easter was awkward. I know Dad can be... that. But Nicole didn't mean anything by it. She's just trying to make a good impression on the family and... I'm sure she is. So you're not mad? I'm not mad. Then what? Tyler. Kept my voice even. Nicole had a professional meeting today. Whatever happened in that meeting, it's between her and her client. If she's upset, that's something you two need to work out. It has nothing to do with me. Silence. You're sure? He said finally. I'm sure. He hung up sounding unconvinced. 2 days later, Nicole called me directly. I need to see you, she said. In person. We met at a coffee shop near the Capitol. She arrived 10 minutes late, her eyes red-rimmed. I broke up with Tyler, she said. I stirred my coffee. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? I don't wish you unhappiness, Nicole. She laughed bitterly. He doesn't know. About you. I couldn't figure out how to tell him. You don't have to tell him anything. But I do. She leaned forward. Because every time he talks about you, I want to scream. He called you a failure yesterday. He said you're wasting your Stanford degree. He said your parents are worried you're going to end up broke and alone. I sipped my coffee. And I just sat there, she continued. As I signed an NDA. Because telling him the truth would violate client confidentiality. Because your family has no idea that you're about to be worth over $1 billion. Probably closer to $800 million after taxes and liquidation preferences, I said. But who's counting? She stared at me. How are you so calm about this? About what? About them. About the way they treat you. They treat me the way I allow them to treat me. That's not an answer. I set down my cup. 4 years ago, my father told me I was throwing my life away. He said I'd regret dropping out. That I was making the biggest mistake of my life. Nicole waited. He wasn't trying to hurt me. He genuinely believed it. And maybe from his perspective he was right to worry. 90% of startups fail. The odds were against me. But you didn't fail. No, I didn't. But I also didn't need him to believe in me to succeed. I needed customers. Investors. Game. I built all of that without my family's approval. Without their support. Without their understanding of what I was doing. That's so sad, Nicole whispered. Is it? I tilted my head. I built exactly the company I wanted to build. I made exactly the decisions I wanted to make. Nobody questioned me. Nobody doubted me. Nobody told me I was doing it wrong. I was completely free. But they're your family. Yes. And they're also people who see the world a certain way. Tyler believes success looks like an MBA and a corporate job. Dad believes it looks like stability and a title he can explain at the country club. Mom believes it looks like whatever makes Dad happy. And you don't care what they believe? I care. But I don't need them to change their beliefs to validate mine. Nicole sat back. I don't understand you. That's all right. She pulled out her phone. Turned it toward me. Tyler's been texting me. He wants to know why I ended things. He thinks it's because of him. Because he didn't make enough money or didn't support me enough or... She trailed off. I told him I needed space to focus on my career. That's probably true. It's not the truth. I waited. The truth is I can't be with someone who talks about his sister like that. Who sits at family dinners and laughs when his dad makes jokes about your little computer project. Who genuinely believes you're failing at life while you're running laps around all of us. Nicole. No. Listen. She leaned forward. I make $340,000 a year. I worked 80-hour weeks for 7 years to make VP. Thought I was successful. I thought I'd made it. You have made it. And then I walked into your boardroom and realized I'm the analyst on your deal. I'm the one taking notes while you negotiate a $1 billion acquisition. I'm the one who has to ask permission to access your data room. She laughed. Do you know how that feels? I imagine it's uncomfortable. It's humiliating. Not because of you. Because of me. Because I went along with it. Because I sat at Easter dinner and listened to your dad say you'd probably never amount to anything, and I nodded along because I wanted them to like me. I said nothing. Tyler called you a failure and I said nothing. Her voice broke. I'm so sorry. You didn't know. I should have. I should have asked. I should have. She stopped. Why didn't you defend yourself? At Easter. At any point. Why didn't you just tell them? Because it wouldn't have changed anything. It would have changed everything. No, I said gently. It would have changed what they knew. Not what they believed. She frowned. If I'd told them at Easter that I was closing a $1.8 billion acquisition, do you know what would have happened? Nicole shook her head. Dad would have asked who's really running the company. Tyler would have assumed I got lucky or that I had investors doing the real work. Mom would have worried that I was in over my head. They would have found a way to diminish it. Not because they're cruel, but because the version of me they've built in their heads, the daughter who's struggling, who needs guidance, who doesn't quite understand how the real world works, that version is comfortable for them. That's awful. It's human. I finished my coffee. We all do it. We build narratives about the people around us. And when reality contradicts the narrative, we either change the narrative or we dismiss the reality. Most people dismiss the reality. So what, you just let them think you're failing forever? I don't know, I admitted. I haven't decided yet. But the acquisition will be public in 6 weeks. It'll be in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, TechCrunch. My name will be attached to it. At some point someone in my family will see it. And then what? I stood picking up my bag. Then I'll decide how I want to handle it. Nicole stood too. For what it's worth, I think you're the most successful person I've ever met. And I don't just mean financially. Thank you. Tyler doesn't deserve you as a sister. I didn't respond to that. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. Nicole won't tell me what happened, but she said I should talk to you. She said I owe you an apology. For what? I stared at the message. Then I typed, "You don't owe me anything. Take care of yourself." I didn't expect a response. He sent one anyway. "Dad's asking if you're coming to his birthday dinner next month. Mom wants to know." I sat in my car, engine off, phone in my lap. After a long moment I typed, "I'll let you know." I didn't send it. Instead, I deleted the message and drove back to the office. The Harrington deal closed on May 23rd. Margaret Westfield flew to Austin for the signing. We held a small ceremony in our boardroom. Just the executive teams from both companies, our lawyers, and the JP Morgan advisors. Robert Chong was there. Nicole wasn't. She'd requested to be reassigned from the deal 2 weeks earlier. I signed 12 copies of the agreement. SupplyWise was now part of Harrington Global. I was now worth, after taxes and preference stacks, roughly $847 million. The press release went out at 4 p.m. Eastern. By 4:07 it was on Bloomberg. By 4:15 TechCrunch had published a profile piece they'd been holding. By 4:30, my phone started ringing. The first call was from a reporter at the Wall Street Journal. The second was from a former classmate at Stanford. The third was from Tyler. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. And again. At 6 p.m. I turned off my phone. I didn't turn it back on until the next morning. 43 missed calls. 62 text messages. Most were from Tyler. Some from my mother. 3 from my father. I scrolled through them. Tyler, 4:34 p.m. Is this real? Tyler, 4:41 p.m. Elena, call me. Mom, 5:02 p.m. Sweetheart, someone sent me an article. Is this you? Dad, 5:18 p.m. We need to talk. Tyler, 5:47 p.m. Why didn't you tell us? Tyler, 6:23 p.m. I don't understand. Mom, 7:04 p.m. Please call when you can. Your father is very upset. Tyler, 8:15 p.m. You made us all look like idiots. Dad, 9:03 p.m. This is unacceptable. You embarrassed this family. I set the phone down. Picked it back up. Opened a new message to Tyler. I didn't embarrass you. I built a company. If you're embarrassed, that's something you need to examine on your own. I sent it. 3 dots appeared immediately. Tyler, you let us think you were failing. You assumed I was failing. I never said I was. Tyler, you never said you weren't. Me, would you have believed me if I had? The dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. No response came. My father called at 7:43 a.m. the next morning. I answered on the 4th ring. Elena. Dad. We need to discuss this situation. What situation? Don't play games with me. You know exactly what I'm talking about. This acquisition. This company. Why the hell didn't you tell us? You uninvited me from Easter because you didn't want your son's girlfriend to know about my situation. Silence. He stopped. That was a misunderstanding. Was it? We thought you were struggling. If we'd known. You would have what? Been proud of me. Of course. Would you? Kept my voice level. Or would you have found reasons to worry? Reasons to question whether I knew what I was doing? Reasons to suggest I bring in real business leadership. That's not fair. Isn't it? When I dropped out of Stanford, you told me I was throwing my life away. When I raced my Series A, you asked who was really running the company. When I hired my first 50 employees, you suggested I get an MBA so I'd understand real business. I was trying to help. You were trying to make me fit the version of success you understand. And when I didn't, you decided I must be failing. More silence. Your mother is very hurt, he said finally. I'm sorry she's hurt. She feels like you didn't trust us. I didn't. The words sat between us. You're our daughter, he said quietly. I am. And for 4 years, you believed I was failing and you never once asked me how I was really doing. You never asked to see my office. You never asked about my team. You never asked what my company actually did. Because you never talked about it. Because every time I tried, you changed the subject. Or made a joke. Or compared me to Tyler. I heard him exhale. Tyler is devastated, he said. He feels like you made a fool of him. I didn't make a fool of anyone. I just didn't correct your assumptions. That's the same thing. No, Dad. It's not. Another long pause. Your mother wants you to come to dinner. Sunday. The whole family. To celebrate? To talk. About what? About where we go from here. I looked out my window. The Austin skyline glittered in the morning sun. I'll think about it, I said. Elena. I have a meeting. I have to go. I hung up before he could respond. I didn't go to Sunday dinner. I sent a text instead. I'm not ready yet. When I am, I'll let you know. Tyler sent 12 messages over the next week. Most were angry. A few were pleading. One was an apology that blamed me for making him look bad. I responded to none of them. My mother called once. Left a voicemail asking if I was eating enough, sleeping enough, taking care of myself. The same questions she'd asked when she thought I was failing. I didn't call back. 6 weeks after the acquisition closed, I was having lunch with Margaret Westfield at a restaurant in Chicago. We were discussing my role in the integration. I'd agreed to stay on as president of the SupplyWise division for 2 years. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Nicole. I know I have no right to ask, but Tyler won't stop calling me. He wants to know if you'll talk to him. He says your parents are worried. He says he's sorry. I stared at the message. Margaret raised an eyebrow. Everything okay? Yes. I set the phone down. Everything's fine. You're sure? I smiled. I'm sure. I didn't respond to Nicole until after lunch. Tell Tyler I appreciate the apology. When I'm ready to talk, I'll reach out. Until then, I need space. She responded immediately. Understood. For what it's worth, I think you're handling this with more grace than anyone I've ever known. I didn't know what to say to that. So I said, thank you. It's been 4 months since the acquisition. I still haven't been to a family dinner. Tyler stopped texting after the first month. My mother calls once a week, always with the same gentle questions, never pushing. My father hasn't called at all. Last week I got a letter in the mail. Actual paper, actual stamp. It was from my dad. Elena. I've been trying to figure out what to say to you for weeks now. Your mother says I should apologize. Tyler says I should explain. But the truth is, I don't think either of those things would mean much at this point. I spent 30 years building a career I was proud of. I thought I understood what success looked like. I thought I was teaching you and your brother the right lessons. I was wrong about a lot of things. Mostly I was wrong about you. I don't know if you'll forgive me. I don't know if I deserve it. But I want you to know that I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you built. I'm proud of who you are. When you're ready, we'd like to see you. No pressure. No expectations. Just family. That. I read it 3 times. Then I put it in my desk drawer. I haven't responded yet. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. The truth is, I don't know what I want from them anymore. I don't need their approval. I stopped needing that a long time ago. But I think maybe I'd like them to actually know me. Not the version they built. Not the daughter who needed saving. Just me. The woman who built a company from nothing. The woman who bet on herself when no one else would. The woman who didn't need vindication to know her own worth. Last Tuesday I had coffee with Patricia, my general counsel. We were going over integration documents when she asked, casually, have you talked to your family yet? Not yet. Are you going to? I considered the question. I don't know. Part of me thinks they'll never really see me. They'll just see the acquisition. The money. The validation. And the other part? The other part thinks maybe that's enough. Maybe that's where we start. Patricia nodded slowly. What would it take? For you to want to try? I thought about my father's letter. About Tyler's spiral of confused apologies. About my mother's worried voicemails. I think I'd need them to understand something first. What's that? That I didn't do this to prove them wrong. I did it because it was what I wanted to build. The fact that they doubted me, that hurt. But it didn't drive me. It drove me. Do you think they can understand that? I don't know. I smiled. But I think I'm okay either way. Patricia smiled back. That's the difference, isn't it? Between needing them to get it and hoping they might. Yeah, I said. I think it is. I'm sitting in my office now watching the sun set over Austin. In 2 hours I have a board meeting. Tomorrow, I'm flying to Boston to meet with a potential partner. Next week, I'm keynoting a conference in San Francisco. My phone is on my desk silent. The door to my family isn't locked. But it has a lock now. And I'm the one who holds the key. When they're ready to meet me where I am, not where they assumed I'd be, I'll consider opening it. But I won't beg them to see me. I won't diminish myself to make them comfortable. I won't apologize for succeeding quietly while they worried loudly. I built exactly the life I wanted. And I did it without their permission. Maybe someday they'll understand what that means. Maybe they won't. Either way, I'll be fine. I've been fine all along.